I'm Sophia, and welcome to What We Need to Know About Ukraine. Here, I learn about Ukrainian history, literature, and culture, and share my findings with you. Today's episode is about Easter, one of the most important holidays in Ukraine, and the most important spring holiday. Today's episode will focus on Ukrainian Easter traditions, some of which are no longer practiced, rather than the religious part of Easter. And yet, let's start with what is Easter. Easter is one of the main holidays in Christianity, marking the resurrection of Jesus 3 days after his death by crucifixion. It also marks the end of the Great Lent, or the Great Fast, which lasts 40 days. Each year, the date of Easter falls on different days. This is due to the fact that the Church does not know the exact date of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The only thing known is that it happened on Sunday, immediately after the Jewish holiday of Passover. To determine then the date of Easter, you need to know the date of the first full moon after the spring equinox. And since Catholics and Orthodox use different calendars, the celebration falls on different days. Ukraine is predominantly a Christian country. However, the pre-Christian pagan roots and traditions have not completely gone either, so Ukrainian Easter is morphed with pagan and Christian traditions, which make it all the more interesting. Easter Sunday is preceded and followed by other important days and events, including the Great Fast, and are all related to Easter. I will start with a week before Easter, at Willow Sunday. Willow Sunday in Ukraine is known as Palm Sunday in some other places. It happens on the Sunday before Easter. At one point, Jesus was greeted with palm branches, and from this came the custom of blessing branches of trees. In the other countries where palm trees grow, the palm branch is blessed. However, palm trees do not grow in Ukraine, so our ancestors had to choose another tree, and this choice, as we can see, fell on the willow tree. The custom of consecrating the willow tree is very old, and it was noted in the writings more than 1,000 years ago. If you found someone who overslept in the morning and didn't go to church on Palm Sunday, you would beat him with the sacred willow, saying, "I don't beat, the willow beats. Easter is in a week, the red egg is not far away. Не я б'ю верба б'є, за тиждень Великдень, недалечко червоне яєчко." And young boys and girls hit each other with the sacred willow as well on their way home from church and said, "Be big like a willow, and healthy as water, and rich as the earth. Будь великий як верба, а здоровий як вода, а багатий як земля." This, of course, was not actual beating and more fun and in good spirits. The week leading up to Easter is called Holy Week, or in Ukraine it is called White Week or sometimes Clean Week. One of the most important days would be a day called Maundy Thursday, or as the Ukrainians call it, Clean Thursday. And Clean Thursday is associated with the purification of the soul and body as well as the surroundings. According to biblical traditions, on Maundy Thursday at the evening prayer, Christ told his disciples that soon one of them would betray him. That same day, the Last Supper took place, during which Jesus washed the feet of his apostles, showing that love is in sacrifice and service. This is where the tradition of washing with cool water at dawn comes from. They say that the water on this day acquires healing properties, so you should have time to bathe at dawn. It is necessary to wash oneself reading a prayer with appeals to God's Mother and Jesus Christ, as well as to one's guardian angel. People also start baking Panka, a Ukrainian Easter cake or Easter bread that I will discuss in detail later, as well as preparing Easter baskets. Thursday is the last day before the holiday when you can still clean your home and yard. Holy Friday, which is the next day, opens the mourning period on the eve of Easter. This means then that no cleaning is allowed. Easter is a bright holiday that should be celebrated in a clean and tidy home, however, so on Clean Thursday, everything should be cleaned. Doors, floors, windows should be all washed. They say if you don't clean up on this day, your family will live in strife all year. And it is also worth throwing away all junk and old and damaged things. Another tradition on Thursday is the Thursday Salt, which is prepared on the night from Holy Wednesday to Clean Thursday. It has been believed that such salt will serve as a talisman for the family for the entire year. Ukrainians dried salt in the oven and then, after consecrating it in the church, kept it near the icons. They said that this amulet can protect against various diseases. These traditions are still remembered and followed by many Ukrainians today. However, there were fascinating pagan traditions for spells, for example, that in the past people could use on this day if they wanted to summon various mythical creatures like witches and domoviks, about which you could find out more in my episode Ukrainian Mythology and Demonology, Demons, Mavkas, Witches, and More. These pagan beliefs were craftfully intertwined with the religious. For instance, to make a witch appear, you must every day of the Holy Fast put away a piece of firewood in the attic, and during Clean Thursday you must use them to light your own oven or masonry heater called a peach, and then a witch will come and ask for fire. Next day is Holy Friday. It is the day that Christ was crucified. Holy Friday is considered the saddest day for believers before Easter, and therefore it is recommended to spend time in the church or at home focusing on prayers and fasting, like abstaining from food and drink. On this day, the church prohibits hard work, overeating, cleaning, and entertainment. Religious people do not cook on this day either, so the making of paskas and all other preparations falls on Saturday. The day before Easter, Ukrainians compile their Easter baskets to take to church and get them blessed. There are certain things that always go in an Easter basket, like a paska and 2 types of eggs, krashenka and pysanka, salo, which is similar to bacon, sausages and other meats, a candle, etc. And it is all covered by a rushnik, a traditional Ukrainian ritual and decorative cloth or towel. Let's talk about Pascha first. Pascha is a Ukrainian special Easter bread or Easter cake, rather, since it is sweet. Paski baked with love from within and with love from God are considered holy objects. By tradition, their crumbs should be collected instead of discarded, and some people add them to the soil for a good harvest. Cooking paski used to be a purely woman's job, and she were not to be disturbed, since even the slightest bit of sound is said to make the process go awry. However, lately, sometimes women prefer to do this on their own, and sometimes it is a fun family activity. Now to the 2 types of eggs. Krashenki are boiled eggs that are to be eaten on Easter. However, they are colored in various colors. And today that is possible to achieve with food coloring. Traditionally, however, people use natural dyes like onion peel, red cabbage, and so on and so forth. The egg, of course, is colored in its shell, and it is a symbol of a legend in which Mary Magdalene, who was a follower of Christ, arrived in Rome, where she presented Emperor Tiberius with a chicken egg and said, "Christ is risen." She told the emperor that Jesus rose from the grave like a chicken breaking out of an egg. And the emperor called it fiction, and he said he would only believe it if the egg changed color from white to red. And during that moment, the eggshell turned red, symbolizing the blood shed by Jesus. Hence, coloring the eggs red is most popular. On Easter morning, people play a game with krashenki, where they hit 2 eggs together and see which one does break, and the one that doesn't break is the winner. The eggs then, of course, are eaten. Now, the second type of eggs are pysanki. A pysanka is most often a raw, decorated egg that is an amulet or a gift, and therefore, of course, it isn't eaten. The word pysanka comes from the Ukrainian word pysati, which means to write. And it uses melted beeswax to write or draw designs on the eggs with a special tool. The beeswax keeps the color of the egg that it is drawn over while the egg is dipped into a colorful dye. And this process then can be repeated multiple times and result in an ornate, colorful, and detailed pysanka. There, every image, pattern, stroke, and color has its own symbol, and of course these are then given as gifts. Pysanki have originated before the adoption of Christianity in the Kyiv and Rus, and probably symbolized fertility and the sun. It is truly a tradition that is more than 1,000 years old. Finally, there is a rushnik, which is one of the main things in traditional decor for Easter. Both baskets, which are carried to the church for consecration, and houses are decorated with them. The traditional colors of the Ukrainian towel are red and black. One is a symbol of death and the underworld, and the other is the affirmation of life, protection, and the bloodshed Ukrainians went through for their native land. Easter finally arrives on Sunday, and some people have been in church since Saturday evening and stayed there all night. Some, however, arrive early in the morning to consecrate their food with holy water, say their prayers, and celebrate Easter before going home to break their 40-day fast with their families. As people arrive, they congregate around the church, laying their food baskets on the ground and lighting candles. The priest, while reciting special prayers for the blessing of the land and other provisions, blesses the brought offerings. On Easter, there's a special greeting that people use for this day only. Christos voskres, Christ has risen, to which others respond, Voistinu voskres, indeed he has. This should be repeated 3 times. This ritual is called Christosuvania and can be heard in the streets between strangers and loved ones alike. Even those who do not consider themselves religious join in the tradition of Pisanki, Christosuvania, and Paske, the Easter bread. Interestingly, that during the Second World War, Ukrainians during the German and Soviet occupation, even in exile and in other countries, would say Christos voskres, voskresne Ukraina. Christ has risen, Ukraine will rise, was the answer. Easter celebrations and activities, however, don't end on Easter Sunday. On Easter Monday, people would visit each other's houses and exchange pisanki. And the week after Easter, people remember their ancestors that have passed away. Families bring baskets of food and small gifts to cemeteries and leave them for their ancestors. This is often a religious ceremony accompanied by a priest who blesses the graves. Folk festivities traditionally started in the evening of Easter Sunday, and in some regions of the country lasted up to 2 weeks. These activities included horovody, round dances, and gajivki, which are all types of dances. Another activity would be swinging on a swing, which is not just a fun activity, but long ago, this custom was meant to use the air to cleanse you from all the evil that accumulated during the winter. And because of this, whoever cleanses himself will be healthy, and whoever does not will be sick. Various other games, songs, and celebrations took place as well. When occupied by Soviet Ukraine, Ukrainians could not celebrate Easter, and many had to continue the traditions in secret. As soon as Ukraine regained its independence, however, public Easter celebrations returned immediately and with great fervor. Easter now combines Christian religious beliefs and traditions, the traditions the roots of which stem from paganism, as well as the emphasis on Ukrainian national identity and independence that rises against the evils that are opposed to it, just like Easter is when good wins against evil. Easter poems since the times of the Kyiv Rus would mention wars, the Cossacks' bravery, and the wish for Ukrainians to live in peace, thus incorporating the ideas and rituals of Easter into their lives as a nation as well. During the Soviet occupation, Ukrainians answered, "Ukraine will rise," to "Christ is risen." Easter is a very important national and religious celebration, which is always relevant and fun. Thank you so much for joining me today, and this was What We Need to Know About Ukraine this week.